Good morning, Philadelphia, and everybody out there on WWDB 860 and everywhere else via the live stream. This is Kevin O'Brien. I'm with Wayne Middleton. It's Monday morning. It must be time for the SMB Acceleration Show. Wayne, how's it going this morning?
Yeah, not too bad, Kevin. Thank you. Good commute in. No major roadblocks. I did pick up a bit of speed here and there, but it was a pretty plain sailing.
Excellent.
It's getting better each week.
Now, did you have any worries about what is that new law? Where they're, what are they doing? They're running electronic timing via the construction zones?
Nope, no problems with that at all.
You're like, not that I know of yet.
Yeah, we'll find out. If I get a letter in the post, then I know I've got a problem. But no, I was well behaved, nothing too bad, so we should be okay.
Oh.
I did notice actually on one of the local highways up near me that they are putting speed cameras in.
Yeah, for the construction zones,
yeah.
Right?
Just it wasn't on 476, but it is definitely up in Allentown. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Okay. No, I guess everybody should be aware on this Monday morning that if you're driving in a construction zone, be sure to keep your speed down.
Yeah, be careful out there, folks. You don't want to get unnecessary points for speeding.
So the 76s weren't bad, huh?
Yeah, it really wasn't. It really wasn't that bad this morning. It's unusual because normally it can be hell, but this morning, yeah, pretty good.
Excellent.
And with the news that it's going to be almost 70 degrees, I
know.
what else is there? It's going to be a great Monday.
I mean, it's a much better day for the 70-degree flu instead of the coronavirus, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, the news has been rife with it. We've seen the stock market starting to crash because of it. And I don't know about you, but our local Target has run out of toilet paper.
Has it really?
Of all the things. Can someone actually call in on 888-329-3306 if you've got issues obtaining toilet paper? Because I can understand hand sanitizer, I can understand face masks. I'm struggling to figure out exactly. Are you going to be using the toilet more because of the coronavirus or less? So again, most topical moment of the morning, right there.
Oh, it is interesting though. It's interesting what people stock up on.
It is. Yeah, normally, I don't know if there is something like there's going to be some bad weather or we're expecting a huge snow drifts or snowfall, then yeah, I'll stock up on the basics: the milk, the cheese, the bread. Toilet paper's very low on my list.
Oh, that's funny. I'll tell you though, I would take the 70-degree Monday flu though today.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful
absolutely.
Day to not have to do anything.
Yeah, it's going to be great to get out there and just start enjoying it. And if you're on your lunch break, go and have a walk. Get out of the office and stretch those legs.
Yeah, absolutely. Heck, I feel like I need to get outside myself and enjoy some of this beautiful March weather. I was just complaining to my kids. I was like, this is crazy. Usually, the beginning of March is frozen. It's like the frozen tundra. It's amazing that I was complaining because we had no snow, but I know.
Yeah, I mean, some people love the snow, some people don't, and
Dan does not.
You can quite frankly keep the snow.
Really?
I'm quite happy we haven't got any.
Oh, that's funny. My wife feels the same way. She's like, we were out walking yesterday, and she was like, that could be like this year round, and I would be fine.
Yeah, it makes you realize that the West Coast and down in Florida and other places that don't get snow are very fortunate.
It's funny. I was in agreement about that yesterday out walking about. I was like, man, this is all right. I could actually get down with the winter like this. This isn't too bad.
Yeah, there's worse ways to spend winter, right, than in mild conditions and
versus if you're like 10 inches of snow deep.
Exactly, getting the snowblower out and dredging through the snow and watching everyone slowly but surely lose their will to live.
You haven't even had to charge the snowblower this year, huh?
I charged it. I did charge it, but that's it. I took it off charge now. It's no longer needed.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean it's rare.
Yeah, keep showing it
Yeah,
You've
perhaps I
kept the
should.
snow away for a whole year. Gosh. Oh.
All right, so we've had our morning fun. Let's get into the news. What's been happening beyond the coronavirus? What else has been happening?
There's some interesting news out there. Came across an article, was that on Entrepreneur, and it was just kind of looking at SEO best practices for 2020. With the recent changes to Google's algorithm, just what should businesses do? And I think the article makes some interesting points, especially around how there are less generic type. I don't want to say generic's not the word. There's less simple search results, I guess, now. Whereas you don't nearly get the, just simple 10 blue links. There's always a lot of the, enhanced options and stuff that Google, returns, which can tend to drive down less click-throughs to your website. And I think that's going to be the increasing norm. Google, as much as they want to sell advertising, they also know that for their core, business is really making search better, and that's really what they've done, and I think are always going to do. And that so there's always going to be that constant nuance of how do I keep my SEO fresh, but
Yep.
and still do well with Google always making all these changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing over the last couple of years as to how Google has adapted to the changing technologies and everything else. I mean, it really comes down to a very simple idea, which is customer centric.
Mm-hmm.
Like they focus on the people using their platform and make sure they provide the best service possible for them. And that for them, that's the search result. So if you type in hamster food and you actually get hamster food, you don't get you don't get hamster food plus rabbit flu plus bird flu food and
Bird flu.
bird flu. Freudian slip. Sorry about that. So I think they really have kind of really selected to target their users much
Absolutely.
better. And again, they change frequently, but I think these changes that they're making are necessary.
Yeah,
It makes it a little tougher for marketers, I think. But again, if you stick to your basic principles of everything we've talked about for the last few months on the show, good content, making sure you got relevant content, timely, keep it moving fast, optimize your keywords effectively, make sure you're targeting the right people, you're not going to suffer from any of this. And I think it's just a matter of...
No, I agree. I think
it's just good practice, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think the article brought up a great point that you've often made is about starting to look at optimizing for voice search.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. If you're not doing that now, you're already behind the curve. And so you have to really be kind of thinking, okay, how are people actually voicing these searches? How are they going to look for us using Alexa or something else, and make sure that you're optimizing your content accordingly.
Yeah, no, it's a great point because I think there really is going to be and already is a need to have yourself somewhat optimized for voice search.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, and this is always kind of funny to me, is you can still do voice search on your computer. My kids at the weekend were messing around with the laptop and they were looking up Harry Potter things. They're in a big Harry Potter phase.
Nice.
And so they wanted to find a specific thing on Harry Potter, and my eldest just she was going to type it, and then all of a sudden she noticed the microphone, clicked on the microphone, and then directed Google to find Harry Potter related content.
Really?
Yep. Using my laptop that I use on the show. So
have you ever done a voice search from it?
I haven't. And do you know why? Because I didn't know it was there. Yes, folks, I didn't know it was there.
Oh.
But I'm so used to doing search a certain way on a computer, it didn't even occur to me to think about using it as voice. But the reality is, it's been there for a while.
If you true. Really I never have done it.
Yeah, and so because because they're younger, they're more up to date. The mobile phone is not a big, or the smartphone, sorry, is not this big new piece of technology like it is for many of us. It's just part of how they use the internet. And so, for me, with my background in UX and design, it's really interesting to watch how they use the computer and how they use devices, because it is very, very different to how we do as the older generation. And you can learn a lot from looking at how the next generation is using technology and how they expect certain things. And you know, it opens your eyes up to perhaps some of the challenges you might be facing if you're going for that older demographic. Like, how do you approach them with this? Because the way they use the web is, again, different to the way that our generation do. Yeah. And then the next generation below is already leaps and bounds ahead of where we are. So
absolutely,
it really does pay to kind of think about this logically and really kind of focus all your efforts as best you can.
Yeah, and I mean, in that article, they talk about how some people think it'll almost be half of all online searches. And hearing about your daughters using it like that really makes it kind of drives it home the change that's coming.
Yeah,
because they don't search like us.
No, they don't, and they don't even use like typical keywords like we would. They think in just phrases and in specific, I guess specific terms, but it's more phrase-based terms. So when they're looking for Harry Potter, we'll probably type in Harry Potter, and then put a specific search item at the end of it, right? Absolutely. Whereas they don't. They just do it as a sentence. I'm looking for Harry Potter news where his glasses fell off, and they will find that piece of content, whereas we wouldn't put that. And it's just really interesting to see how they use it, and it really opens your eyes up for how the future is going to be, and it can be a little bit scary as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it really, and especially from the small business point of view, I don't use like voice search for anything currently where I'm making purchases, but I guess that's probably just the inherent like inertia of never having done it.
Yeah.
Where for a kid today, it's probably
second nature.
Yeah, I mean, you always heard about the early Alexa, like kids ordering themselves presents and stuff, or gifts and stuff like that, or new toys just by saying, "Alexa, buy me." I've never actually said, "Alexa, buy me something."
Yep. No, and
have you?
I can't say I have, to be honest. I don't trust it that much. But no, I mean, it just doesn't even occur to me to think like, hey, Siri, Alexa, whoever, buy me dish soap. Yeah. It just doesn't. It doesn't even compute in my head. And the funny thing is, that's the whole point, right? Is you're meant to be able to do things a lot easier
somewhere.
Exactly.
They're all out.
So it is really interesting just watching how different people use the internet, and the kids in the future, the way they use it is really, really interesting to me.
Oh, it absolutely is. And my kids get mad when the voice searches don't return the right answer.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm trying to think what they were looking for. Oh, how old would George Washington be today?
Yeah.
And like, I forget, they asked, was it on my phone? So it was Siri, had no idea. It was like, let me search the web. But Alexa was like, George Washington would be, I don't know, 238 years old or something.
Crazy, isn't it?
And like, they were so mad that Siri couldn't, like, they were like, how does Siri not know this? And I'm like trying to get into the, like, well, somebody has to program Siri.
Yeah, it has to learn. And
all this. And they're like, huh?
Yeah,
she doesn't know this? I'm like, well, obviously not.
I mean, Google have been busy, haven't they? If you think about it. Like, not only are they making an algorithm change that's going to, be interesting to see how it all pans out. And again, it's not a major change for a lot of people. You're probably not going to notice a huge effect.
No, exactly.
But they've also just announced an incentive, talking of the coronavirus, for G Suite and other small businesses. So, Google are busy. It's capitalizing on the coronavirus, which is somewhat sketchy, I would think. But
it's genius, too.
They're giving businesses and schools G Suite enterprise features until July 1st. That's huge. I mean, that's a significant amount of software that they're literally just giving them around the coronavirus. And the idea behind it really is to keep people connected without necessarily having to be face-to-face. And, you use Hangouts to meet and do all your, do your tutorials through, and you meet with your teachers potentially if you're sick. And it just, it's trying to help prevent the spread, which I thought was kind of cool. Slightly, again, topical, very different. And for those,
it seems like a good play to me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, for the small business owners out there, I mean, you can't afford to get sick, right? You get sick, you lose money.
Yeah.
So, take the risk away. maybe work remotely for a little while, and just use the tools that Google are providing you to be able to set up your meetings, have over the air meetings face to face. That way you're less likely to be spreading the coronavirus around and other illnesses.
True. I'll tell you, it's amazing the impact. Not to go off on a coronavirus tangent, but
you're going.
It's kind of amazing. Yes, I am. It's kind of amazing the impact that something like a virus can have on today.
Yeah, I mean, it's bird flu was another one that had a massive impact. It affects everything. It affects people's buying behaviors. We're joking around with toilet paper and stuff, but again, people have been out there buying hand sanitizer left, right, and center. And really, if you think about it, in order to help stop the spread of something like a virus or a cold or something like that, it's basic hygiene. It's basic, just good hygiene. Wash your hands after you use the bathroom. I dread to think how many people don't. But thanks, Dan. But yeah, I mean, it's just good hygiene, good personal hygiene. And so, they go into this panic buying mode and they go and buy all these unnecessary things just because there's a new virus in town. And then not only that, I mean, it affects the stock market. Businesses start closing. I mean, it's big enough, and we're all joking aside, it's a terrible, terrible situation to be in. But it's big enough that it's closed South by Southwest.
Yeah.
And it's potentially going to close the Olympics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge, right?
Yeah, I think the fact that South by Southwest had no insurance for cancellation is even crazier.
Yeah, there's going to be some problems with that. So
that's good. That to me, I saw that and I was like, wow. Well, it's not like it's just started and that they couldn't afford insurance.
A few years. Yeah, and it's one of the biggest digital kind of conferences in the world, and for something like that not to have that is very surprising.
Yes.
So it'd be interesting to see how that rolls out over the next few months as people have probably already booked their tickets, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Amongst many other things.
I'll tell you, as you just mentioned, the global impact is actually kind of fascinating. The fact that, we actually haven't really seen the impact of the coronavirus too much of, the impact in Chinese output for items we purchase.
Yeah.
Which is definitely because of the lag time and shipping and all. But there definitely should be. I would think there would be.
I would imagine there's a lot of quarantine going on. That's what I would think. And then, reading about northern Italy, they literally closed it. How can you close a whole portion of the country?
Did they really?
Put it into they've literally closed it down, and so in order to prevent any more further spread, so they've basically placed the whole northern part of Italy, which includes Lake Como and other places, into quarantine, which is insane. It's crazy. And again, it's all great. I mean, it's good to try to stop it in its tracks and everything else, but just think about the logistics of trying to do that. All those businesses, all those even down to the smallest marketplace where people normally go and get their food. You can't, how are they implementing that? How are they policing it as well? Just the amount of effort and financial investment in trying to protect a certain portion of the country. It's mind-blowing. And so you can start to see how this affects your economy, the global economy, not only your local economy. Businesses suffer, people suffer. It is insane. And so I'm personally hopeful that we get to the bottom of this pretty quickly and get rid of it as soon as possible. But man, it's the impact has been huge, really.
It is, and I mean, I guess that makes sense for Google to kind of put that spin on it, just from the aspect of it can't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's always
a downside.
There's always a profit and loss kind of thing going on there, but it's trying to keep business and schools going, and with minimal disruption, which I think is a really smart play. And profiting off of a global virus like this or a global condition is not exactly can be seen many different ways. But I think in this case, it's actually doing something for good, and praise to Google for that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it kind of ties into the next thing I saw that it's just an interesting correlation. Is like it makes you wonder how businesses like Wendy's and McDonald's will fare if things were to increase. Being that they're very labor dependent and kind of dependent on people being out and about.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a great article about McDonald's response to Wendy's tweet at them, and I thought it was perfect. How about you?
I'm going to admit freely that I didn't read this one. I was reading the others, and I got caught on the coronavirus trip, as you can tell. You go down a rabbit hole and you try to find the end, and sometimes you do. Sometimes you just get stuck in the rabbit hole.
So
that's what happened to me this weekend. But yeah, enlighten me.
Yeah, Wendy's put out a tweet like a week ago or so, and it was "Here lies mediocrity," and the hashtag was Egg Rip Muffin, and it said "Rest in peace, Egg McMuffin."
Interesting. I've just looked at the tweet myself, and yeah, wow. I mean, there's no punching. That was definitely a punch below the belt. But
so McDonald's response was to declare a couple days later, like the National Egg McMuffin Day. So they offered everyone a couple days later to enjoy a free Egg McMuffin, but all you had to do was download the McDonald's mobile app.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's a great rebuttal, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, take the one that they've hit hard or trying to hit hard and give it away for free, and all you have to do is download the app. Now, we all know the reality of what that means, but if you're a McDonald's fast food eater, and sometimes we have to be, whether that's Wendy's or McDonald's or others, that's a great response. That is a great response, and they didn't get petty, which is what I like, because you could have very easily have tried to re-attack Wendy's with an attack on one of their burgers or something like that. So.
Yeah, and they were saying that that was actually Wendy's intention.
Yeah,
was to drive like a Twitter war between the brands.
Yeah, and I think that killed it. Yes. That killed it. I mean, you can't
fuel the fire.
Can't fuel the fire if you don't respond. Exactly. So that's an interesting little note there as well. And I know we had some other news, but I guess we're coming up to a break as well. But we'll get back to the last couple of bits around finances and some interesting news on cabbage. And then also after the break, we're gonna discuss a new what would you say, an online application for accountants that they may find very interesting and very useful.
So, we are going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get into those things, as Wayne just said, and we'll be back shortly. Do we have a good volume on the live stream? I meant to ask.
Yeah. Okay. It's live stream's fine. The reason sorry, folks, the reason it wasn't signaling volume is because I had it on mute. I always have it on mute before we go live, so we're good, as you can see.
Live stream, let me stretch.
Yeah, anyone on live stream, talk to us. Criticize the backdrop. We're trying something different today. We're trying a bit of green screen. We was hoping to get some logos placed, but that didn't quite pan out. But hopefully, if you want to appear on our green screen, we talk to us about some locations you'd like us to be in, and we'll put them in there. It can be a bit of fun for online. But other than that,
we could be at the Olympics.
Exactly, we could be at the Olympics.
Could have been at the Man U game.
The Man U, no, Tottenham, please. If we're going to lose, I'd rather lose to looking at the team that I support. But yeah, it's an interesting show today. I think this new app will be very interesting for anyone who works in finance who has to try to manage their cash flow. So it's an interesting app, has a lot of potential, and be interesting to see what everyone thinks.
Absolutely. So hit us up on the live stream.
Yeah, the small business tools should be fun too. So you got the pink goop today?
What's that?
Have you got pink goop today?
I do.
Excellent. It's gone, but it's pink.
It was.
"20 seconds, and we're back live, folks." need to try scooching over a little bit. There you go.
All right, we're back. If anybody has any questions, comments, or wants to call in, give us a call at 888-329-3306. And we've been talking a little small business news. We're going to get into a little bit more small business news, and we're going to get into an app that Wayne and I have been checking out to try and drive our business here, the show, podcast, etc., and kind of take a look at our cash flow. And the app is actually called Cashflow. PHLOW though.
Yep.
Cashflow.
Yep. As in fat with PHAT.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, I mean, some of the interesting. We were sifting through small business trends,
Mm-hmm.
right, and came across this article about where Cabbage, the loan company, are giving insights and hopes to keep small business cash positive. It was an interesting look into the article. Just quick highlights. It's a new tool that they're offering to any US-based small business, which enables you to sort of see, focus on your bottom line of your cash flow, basically.
Yeah.
It frees you up to do more of the data gathering that you need to get. Making sure that the outgoings are good and your income is good. Anyone who's trying to look for that kind of idea of a low balance.
Absolutely.
To make sure you're not owing too much. It's a great little app for that. And again, it's run by Cabbage, and they basically, I think they're a loan aggregator, right? So they collect lots of different loans from various different places, and you buy them through them, if I remember rightly. But yeah, it was an interesting thing, and Cabbage as a whole, to give you an idea, a lot of this data is coming in from their 220,000 small businesses that they have as their customer base. So a lot of people are using Cabbage for various different things, for loans or payment gateways and stuff like that. So this new app looks really interesting, Cabbage Insights. It gives you really just at a glance exactly where you're at with your balance, with your forecasting and everything else.
It's really interesting intuitive. That they say that 91% of small business owners spend as many as 20 hours per week calculating cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, cash flow, if you think about it, if you're not managing your cash flow well, then that's a major issue. And a lot of the time, again, just speaking to the owner of the app of Cashflow itself, a lot of the challenge is that it's a manual process. So, you can't always sort of say, okay, month 2, I'm going to be flush, and therefore I need to balance out a little bit.
True.
Because it's all manual and you don't know until the bills arrive as to how you're going to juggle it. And that's where this Cabbage app, and then Cashflow as well, which plugs into QuickBooks, really kind of help you manage and forecast your cash flow better. And it takes a lot of the manual aspects out of it. Which is
huge, as we always talk about, and no matter what the small business process, you really need it to be as efficient as possible.
Exactly. Again, you don't want to, if you're spending 28 hours a week looking at your cash flow.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's a massive loss in terms of being.
That's what I was honestly thinking. That seems like a huge time sink.
It does, yeah. I mean, you add that to the fact that you're trying to generate business all the time. The chances are, even if you've got a small team of 10 to 100 people, you've got marketing people doing their thing, you've got sales doing theirs. You as the CEO have to be the voice and the face of the company, so you're out on the road all the time. How many hours? There's only 24 hours in a day. You only have so much given time, and that means, right, so 28 hours over 48 hours. 20
over 7, right? Would be like 2 hours, a little over 2.5 hours a day.
Yeah, which is insane. That's 2.5 hours a day.
It's almost 3, actually. Wow.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's 3 hours of your day just looking at your cash flow and making sure that things are right every single day.
You can't even take a day off.
Yeah. So make your life easier. That's why that's what really brought our attention to cash flow, because it's an easy way to plan out your weekly cash flow, right? And I think that it takes the 3 hours out of your day. It's like at a glance, I can see exactly where I'm at. I can predict a little bit further ahead. Again, it's brand new. It's relatively, it's really well priced, I think, as an approachable piece. And
for 20 hours, if you get 20 hours out per week, back. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, think about what you could do with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be drumming up more business. You can focus on your employees. You
could be blogging.
You could be blogging. You could be creating content. You've got so many more things that you can do. And so
you could start video marketing. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of that's a lot of time you'd be freed up.
Yeah, and the other thing that cash flow really kind of is interesting about cash flow is you can kind of know what's coming. So you can predict where you're going to be light, where you're going to be heavy, where your bills are going to amount up and everything else. And it's all based on your actual invoices and bills from your accounting system. So if you're using QuickBooks and you're running all your finances through there and your invoicing systems and everything else, you can actually start to see it real time as to how that works. And you can actually, I mean, again, I've seen it used in a demonstration, but you can predict up to 12 weeks into the future as to where your cash flow is going to be. That's a pretty big deal. That takes a lot of that 3 hours a day out of the equation.
It sure does. And I mean, that's a lot of time to get back.
It is. So again, if you are running a small business and you're looking at trying to streamline your invoicing, your cash flow and everything else, look at cash flow. And again, it's phlow.com. Really well priced. It looks like a great app. And again, just having that ability to look at your weekly cash flow easily and be able to look forward 12 weeks into the future in terms of how you're looking and how things are going to balance out. It's going to take a lot of that guesswork, that anxiety out of things. And I think that's, that in itself for the grand price, and I'm going to give you the price, folks, the grand price of, at the kind of basic level, $10 a month. If you need it for a team, say it's you and your finance team, you're looking at $24.99 a month. I think that's an awesome amount of value for something that if you're
spending 20 hours a week, I mean, exactly. It definitely is, right?
Exactly. So, it's very much worth the investment, worth checking out, and it's cashflow.com.
Great. So, I mean, I didn't realize how much time business owners spent.
Well, that's just one aspect of it, right? Yeah. So you're talking about financial aspects of it. And so, you're working with your accountant, presumably, or your finance team in-house. There's a reason you have a finance team.
No, absolutely.
It does take that much time to equate all this information, and it's not always easy to get. And there's all these platforms out there that tell you how easy it is, and they do focus on a lot of the major financial challenges. But from your cash flow point of view, that's kind of a secondary thing that is really important to monitor and manage and understand where your invoices are coming in, where they're going out, when you can expect a big paycheck versus not having one. So I mean, you've got to be on top of it. That's why people employ teams or extra resources to deal with it. But there are tools out there that can make life a lot easier.
It's amazing. I mean, honestly, that if you look at it from the aspect of 20 hours a week, that's I mean, even if it's like you said, you have a finance team. Yeah. It's a pretty sizable portion of someone's week.
Yeah, it is.
If you have an in-house person spending 20 hours a week on one task.
Well, I don't
know.
I'll put it down to this. So, as a small business owner myself with marketing and design, I use an app called Harvest. Okay. Which I'm looking to get rid of because the way I run my business on an hourly basis, this, a typical agency model, I scope out a project, I'll tell you how many hours I'm anticipating it's going to take, and then I charge you an hourly rate based on that, and it's a fixed rate, fixed hourly rate. Okay. Yep. So basically, I'm just monitoring the time. So this app just alerts me to when I'm getting close to the maximum amount of time I get.
That makes sense.
So if I'm working with someone else, I can put someone else on the app, and they can help. Again, we're getting into some small business tools here, and I think this is a really important thing. Cash flow is definitely one to check out, and one that I'm going to start using as well. But if you look at your time, then you get another vendor in who has to do something like technology or something like that. Yep. I can then have them enter their time into it. But what it doesn't do is I send out the invoice. How long, 30 days, 50 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is. until I get paid. So in that interim where my invoice is out there, I know I'm going to get paid.
It's just
But when? And so if I look at that based
Oh.
on, I've now got to pay that vendor who did the thing for me,
Mhm.
because he's not going to wait until my invoice is cleared. So I have to pay him, which means I'm out of pocket. Now I'm looking at my cash flow going, okay, can I afford to be keeping the bills on? Can I afford
That's
to pay for my
interesting,
website
yeah.
next month? And so
So even
it
like
does.
as a small business owner, you run into it, cash flow, not issues per se, but more like
Transparency.
transparency of like needing to know,
Yeah,
do I have to do this? And
yeah. And it's...
now does it alert you when people are like very late?
Yes.
Okay.
So it does flag when people are late paying, and I can set it up so that it automates that invoice to go back out to them.
That's not bad.
Which is not is a
Yeah.
good feature, but again, in terms of my overall cash flow, yeah, it's almost like a mystery in itself. I couldn't tell you where it sits. That's the crazy thing.
I was thinking when we were looking at the cash flow app, how little time I personally had ever spent on it as a small business owner.
It's surprising when you think, if that is a true fact and people are spending about 3 hours a day just looking at cash flow. I mean, I know personally I don't have the time to be able to do that. My time is spent creating content for myself, doing the work I'm doing for my customers, and then ultimately drumming up more business. So if you think that's the majority of my day, I may have half an hour, 20 minutes here and there to think about cash flow.
But now you need 3 hours a day to manage it. Wow.
Unless there is something out there that I can use that makes life easier, which there is now. So that in itself is great. A lot of the small business tools we use and what we want to use over the course of running our business, the idea is to be efficient and remove some of the obstacles that we face on that day-to-day basis. Whatever it is, whether you're running business, whether it's cash flow kind of things, whether it's invoicing, there's a lot of tools out there, and what's really with all that amount of tools in the industries, which ones do you want to use?
Yeah, which one has value? Is not going to because I know we've talked before, some like project management tools you feel like are so cumbersome that you spend more time messing with the tool than actually like getting value out of the insights you're getting from it.
Exactly. And some of them are so kind of all-encompassing. Not only do they manage your projects, but they also, and I can think of one off the top of my head called Workamajig. It offers a massive suite of things, and it's a good platform.
Okay.
It is a good platform, but it's very, very complex to use. And even as someone just entering in time to it, it was not the most intuitive.
Yes. There's some I've used that I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why is this the process?
Yeah, it's painful. And so it's important to manage your projects, especially if you're doing services like design or marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or anything that has that hourly based kind of system in it, or even just a lump sum at the end. You still need to know at various steps of the way where you are within your journey with this customer, and a lot of them just make it far too difficult.
Absolutely.
And it's painful.
And I mean, as you said, it's an important aspect. You have, especially when you're in a business of basically selling hours in some aspect, not be knowing, when you're going to get paid for them, for the outlay versus the timing and all.
Yeah.
Even as a small business, like, a smaller business under 10 people, it seems like it wouldn't be that big, but it is, right? And especially I think as you add employees, it becomes bigger, more and more important, because then all of a sudden you have payroll either weekly or bi-weekly or whatever it is, and you have to make sure your cash flow, gets, enough to get through that, right?
Well, even you can boil it down even simpler. If you're working on an hourly based system, and even if it's a lump sum, a retainer kind of idea, if someone in your team doesn't submit their time, doesn't submit the project life cycle correctly, then immediately you're at risk. You're at risk, because you're at risk of losing out-of-pocket money, because you've got to submit an invoice by the end of the week, potentially if it's at the end of the month if it's a retainer, so that the client knows exactly where their budget is.
Wow.
So you submit that invoice, But lo and behold, Wayne over here, he didn't enter his time in, and he's one of our people that has perhaps the highest rate.
Wayne Whittleton.
Yeah, Whittleton is a
Whittleton
disaster.
just forgot.
Whittleton is a disaster. But the reality is, if I haven't put in my time, you can't suddenly go back to the client and say, "Oh well, someone didn't put their time in." So what do? You lose it, and so that affects your cash flow.
Yeah.
In which case, it's like, now what do I do? Because now I'm down, and let's be honest, I'm down maybe $2,000, something like that. But as a business owner, can I afford to lose 2,000? Especially if you're a small business.
Absolutely.
No, you can't.
No, and it was like our conversation with Bart.
Yeah.
About losing 100,000 when you're a small business.
I mean, that can cripple you very easily.
Yeah, it sounded like it did for them. You know, like for a.
I mean, there is a big part of me that says, okay, it's the devil's in the details, right? So you have to be as detailed as you can be, and it's easy to manage when there's maybe 3 or 4 of you.
Yeah.
When you get to 10 or 20, it becomes that much more difficult, because then, as the owner of the company, you now have to be responsible for the discipline of everyone else doing their entries correctly.
Absolutely.
And so, again, just add that up in terms of time. I'm spending 3 hours worrying about cash flow. I've got employees on my staff that are entering in time, but they're not doing it accurately. How do I ever know realistically how long a project should take if that's how I'm doing it? Because when you scope, you don't scope from blind faith. You scope based on experience.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If you fitted a fence on a 2-acre farm before, and it took you 2 days, you use that as your base.
Yeah.
Obviously, there might be complications in there, and you build those in. But if you can't quote correctly because your data going into the platform is wrong in the first place, you're going to have issues. And that's why, whenever you rely on human entry of data,
absolutely,
it's going to, there is that risk of human error. And sometimes it's pure forgetfulness. Sometimes it's just bad behavior in terms of working ethic and stuff like that. So then, and I've experienced this at places I've worked at, the leadership come down and say, okay, well, we need you to submit your time every single day. Well, the reality is, and you try to put this in perspective, I'm working, I'm designing, it's like 5:30, 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
Do I put my time in now because I want to do another hour? And then it just slips your mind.
Yes.
And so you naturally you're busy doing what you're being asked to do, but at the same time, you still in the back of your head got this nagging thing that you have to enter your time in at the end of the day. And quite honestly, you forget, if you're getting engrossed in stuff, if you're a developer and you're coding, the last thing that's on the top of your mind is worrying about putting in hours.
No, it is. And it's it's really important because it allows you to track so much, like having accurate, timing and time on different things. But it's such a time sink too, of like, I often wonder, having worked in agencies for a number of years, of like, how much time is actually spent yearly saying, did you put in your time? Is your time in for the week or the day or whatever?
Probably a lot, quite honestly, because again, if you're working, and we can only talk from our own experience, right? So if you think about a project that comes into a design agency, and let's say it's a website, there's various different steps, there's different people that touch it at different times. So let's say there's a team of 5 people on this one project. You've got one project manager trying to manage those 5. And the chances are he's not only managing that one project, he's managing 3 or 4.
Absolutely.
And all of those people are responsible for putting their hours in, including the project manager. No wonder it breaks.
Yeah.
So what was really interesting to me was when we had Bart on the show, was the idea that that hourly model, although a lot of companies still run that way, it's very difficult to keep it going, and there's room for error all the way through that.
Yeah.
So if you can, again, if you're looking at things and you're saying, okay, I want to be more of an AOR, I want to get someone on retainer.
Yeah.
The pressure of worrying about hours becomes less.
Yes. I think that after talking with him, it was amazing the switch that seemed to have in his business.
Yeah, I mean, from a customer point of view, okay, I'm going to have to pay X amount at the end of the month, but in that time, I know what I'm getting.
Yes.
And there's no, oh, sorry, we forgot that someone didn't submit their time.
Yeah.
We need an extra 1,500. No, it's that price. And you've got to get
I can't imagine having to go to a client and say that, right?
I mean, people do all the time, if you think about it. If not, you eat the money, in which case you're losing money left, right, and centre because of
people. Human error.
Yeah, absolutely. Human error. And it's not necessarily that these employees are terrible employees. It's just that it slips their mind and they don't know the repercussions.
No. You know what? I do want to touch on that, but I know we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, I want to ask you about just think about the human error and how to get past it and just any thoughts on it.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so we'll be right back. And when we get back, I'm going to quiz Wayne on better ways to have people record their time.
I have no idea. I wish I did.
Oh.
I mean, time, it's a touchy subject and it's difficult. I think we should also talk about some of these other tools if we can.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had any thoughts on how you wanted to talk about them. But...
No, I just put it in there.
All right. Yeah. I mean, 3 hours just worrying about cash flow.
That's nuts.
I just heard my voice.
So live stream, if you have any questions, feel free.
Yep, fire away. We'll happily answer them if we can. And if not, just let us know how you feel about the show. Are we doing okay? Is there some topics you would like to have covered that affect your business? Remember, it's more than just marketing. We're trying to look at everything from benefits to what does it take to get a product trademarked or my brand trademarked. Yep. So, feel free to fire away questions.
Do you want to talk about the coronavirus?
Yeah. our thoughts on toilet paper. I'm happy to talk about it. But yeah, I mean...
All right, we're back. And we were just talking about the struggles for small business owners, primarily agencies, but there's a number of businesses where you're in the business of selling hours and how to get people to track them.
Yeah, it's historically throughout my career in terms of working within a creative environment, I can only think of 2 times where I didn't have to track time.
Really?
Yeah. But one was when I worked at a magazine.
Okay.
And the other one was basically a pure 100% retainer-based business.
Okay.
So we didn't do anything without having a significant retainer in place with the customer, which meant we got some big brands, right? So that's how I got to work on Reebok and BBC and people like that, because we just said, hey, we're going to be your agency of record for all your digital work. And we'd plan out the year of what we needed to do, and anything outside of that year, we just we had to be creative with how we fitted it into the budget that we had.
Okay.
But it meant that I never had to track time, and so
that's nice. Time
didn't really become an issue until I would say probably when I moved over here, it became much more of an issue. My ability to track time, to monitor the time that other designers were using, bearing in mind as a more senior position, either as a associate creative director, or art director, you've got a team of people underneath you that you're working with. I was responsible to make sure that those people got their time in at the end of the day.
Okay.
Not only their time, I had to get mine in too.
Absolutely.
And so it's a constant battle because you sympathise because again, if you're in the trenches doing the work, the last thing on the top of your mind is really, I've got to put the hours in at the end of the day. So what they do, by nature, everyone does this, is they wait till the next day. But if people are running their numbers after 5 o'clock, which some people do, or they run them first thing in the morning, there's an opportunity there for those numbers to not make it into that final
It is true.
Invoice.
That is a great point.
So I feel it on both sides. I feel it both as the person doing the work, but also as a senior leader of a company or
as a business owner now, right?
And so, I don't know that there's really an answer to it, because every time you're having to rely on people putting numbers in, there's always that opportunity for things to slip.
No, absolutely.
So my best advice would be to, potentially, if you're in that situation, you're seeing people lose it. You're seeing staff members not add time in efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily to punish them, but I would communicate to everyone involved in the company what impact that actually has as a company.
Yes.
So again, I think people react well when they're informed. So again, not to scare the bejesus out of them, but actually kind of get them to focus their minds. If they understood that, hey, your salary that you get every month is dependent upon you entering in time effectively and on time, otherwise we can't pay you. But you never see us not pay you.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And if they can help to understand how the business works on the financial side of things, and you educate them, then you should see an improvement in the overall time aspect.
That's a great point.
If you don't, then you've probably got more of a problem with that direct individual, which enables you to have a different conversation with them.
With them one-on-one versus,
And I think that's honestly the best way to do it. And again, it's much more that mentorship kind of idea. Bearing in mind, creative people just typically are not the best at numbers, I think.
You know, a business owner once told us that, a company I work for, that.
Well, it's true. We're creative and we're there to do things that other people can't do, right? So we don't worry about numbers so much as we worry about what it looks like and how it feels.
It drove this guy crazy. It was so funny because he's in the custom steel business, like structural steel, and he was like, I like you guys, but I just feel like everyone's a little kind of like flaky. He's like, I don't know if I hate to say it, but you're like too creative.
Yeah.
And he was like, my world isn't like that. Like if we miss a weld, buildings fall down kind of thing. He was like,
it's life or death, right?
Yeah, and it was such an interesting, kind of association with the way he looked at creative people as a whole.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there are always the alternatives to it, but as a general rule, we focus on being creative, and generally our brain doesn't kind of process the business side of things.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And
I think people in general who have never owned a business struggle with it.
It's also it's not taught to you. So, going to university, maybe now, I'm speaking probably a little out of turn, but I've worked with young people that just finished university coming out into their first job. And a lot of them have no idea how an agency works and why, and how the money flows through it and everything else. It's almost worth having one of those kind of stand-up topics every year where you talk about a different aspect of actually having and running your own design agency.
It's actually not a bad idea. I'll tell you, I had a job in a corporate center, like traditional office park, and I was talking to one of the people, and this was after I'd owned a business, so I was very cognizant of like cost and stuff like that. But still, what blew me away is I didn't even think about like the cost of just the square foot, the cubicle I was in.
Yeah.
Cost plus like the breakdown of the bathrooms and common type areas across all the employees, and they had a number figured out, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, using the printer? And my cubicle cost you guys
X amount,
$10,000 a year or something. All of a sudden, you're like, wow. So I really have to, it's not just my salary and my benefits and like all that.
Everything else.
Yeah, then every time you travel or something, like you send me somewhere, like you have to recoup all that money and hotels and it's amazing, right? When all of a sudden you're like, wow.
It's again, to go into it blindly is a dangerous thing, and I think. There's a lot you can learn through trial and error and everything else, but I think there is a need at universities these days with design or creative people or marketers even to understand actually what it takes to drive a business. Yeah. Because you can come out of college and you think design is this thing where you can walk into any agency and you're going to be able to create these amazing designs. Reality is 90% of our work is not great. It's not this real creative flamboyance that you see and that you kind of believe it to be. You earn that right. A lot of it can be, I don't want to use this word, but it's grunt work, where you're just doing PowerPoints, you're doing emails, or you're doing sales aids for people. And it's not the most thrilling design work in the world, but it pays the bills. And I think if you can correlate the idea that, hey, I'm working on this PowerPoint, I hate PowerPoint, but if I can do a really good job here, it's going to help long term with the company and give us an opportunity to get more business from this company. Like, if you have a better business idea going into your first job, you'll start to understand better how things work, so that one day I think most designers do get to a point where they're like, I can do this for myself.
True.
You're not going in thinking you can do it and then realizing that, oh crap, there's
a lot of costs that I didn't realize about insurance and all these.
Exactly. So I mean, it's something I would suggest that should be not a major part of the curriculum, obviously, but it could be a guest appearance where people talk about.
It's a really interesting thing, of like, as a small business owner, I've always thought I would want people to start as many businesses as they could that worked for me. It's a really good idea going forward of having those kind of stand-ups and kind of have different topics on small business ownership. Like, you know what, you're going to have to think about this. There's a lot to own a small business. And as we touched on, the cash flow is a huge one.
So again, most of our show has been talking a little bit about coronavirus, but it's been about using applications to help streamline your business, whether that's financial or otherwise, and a lot of talking about hours and the challenges that we face. So I would just want to remind everyone, if you're interested to find out more about cashflow.com, go and visit them, go and check it out. If you're worried about your cash flow on a day-to-day basis and spending 3 hours trying to analyze that data, you need this app.
Absolutely.
It will revolutionize the way you're doing business, I'm sure.
Yes.
But yeah, if you've got any comments or ideas on topics that you want to hear on the show beyond this hourly rate thing, send us an email, drop us a line, let us know, and we'll happily kind of talk about it.
Acceleration. And if you missed anything today on the show, just check out the podcast anywhere you get your podcast or on our website, smbacceleration.com. Any last thoughts, Wayne?
No, just have a lovely Monday. It's going to be great out there. Enjoy it.
Yes, enjoy the sunny Monday 70-degree weather. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I've got the clock down to a T to close out. So if we close out at 8, we start closing at 8:57, 58, that's pretty much spot on.
Perfect.
Well, considering we didn't have much to talk about, we talked a lot. Everyone on live stream, thanks for joining us. And again, feel free to ping us an email or anything else. Just let us know what you want to hear about. Or what you want to know.
Let us know.
If you want to join us on the show, just let us know. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.